Well, hello, my favorite people. How is everybody? Do we have anyone still alive and sleepless out there in the world? If you are, keep typing some comments. I know many of you asked me to do a late night live to see if anybody is awake in other countries, because obviously we do have a huge time difference between all of us. So let's see if we are live. If anybody is watching, type in some comments. Let us see. Let me see if anybody is still out there. Yes. Yay. We have some people who don't sleep just like we don't anymore, right? Anybody who is not asleep, type in what country you are not asleep at. We got it. We have Philippines. Yes, finally, John Michael Diaz II, Philippines. We have Joseph Dunphy, East Coast, USA. USA, right? I love it. We have Luba Velimir. Nazis are losing. Nice message. Ooh, we have to talk about Nazis, Luba. I think you read my mind. That's definitely on one of the subjects we're going to talk about today. We have New Zealand. We have, let's see, Kevin, Neil, welcome. Great job. We have, guys, as soon as I don't miss anybody, Rick from Alabama. I love it. Welcome, Rick. Rick Holland, excellent. I did pick up on Joseph. Let's see. We have new one. Hello, Elena. It's 2 p.m. here in Australia. Finally, we got some Australians who are awake when we are just about to go to sleep, right? I know, guys, we have a huge time difference, but sometimes we'll do different time frames to see who is asleep, who is not. We have Norway, Tuva Hedlund, welcome. We have, again, Luba, USA. I have Ibrahim, France. We have Kerry Todd, Guam. Wow. I love you guys. Look how everyone is just across the world. Close, St. Louis, Missouri. I love it. We have Australia. Love it. Lisa Elliott, welcome. We have Joe Timothy. Finally, we got Papua New Guinea. Wow, guys, I love it. How the time is noon. Excellent. You see, people wrote to me and said, Elena, could we do some different time frames? Because sometimes we're asleep when you guys doing live. So let's all have fun together. I was like, okay, let's do it. So we got Joe Timothy. We said hello to Kevin. We are saying hello to Malaysia. Malaysia, welcome. Excellent. Another Australian, wonderful. Who is in the house? Malaysia is here. We have USA. Tuesday, New Zealand. Russell Brown. And we have Namibia. Wonderful. Okay, guys, 1 second here. I'm trying to bring a guest on, and looks like Mike is ready. Hey, Mike.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good morning. Tell us where you're at, Mike.
Oh, I am in Connecticut.
Excellent.
Should I type or should I?
No, you could just talk. You see, when you're the hostess with the mostess, you don't have to type.
Oh, okay, that's great. Appreciate that.
We could just talk.
I appreciate you having me here.
Excellent. Mike is one of my subscribers, followers on the Facebook page, and we sort of connected because Mike said, Elena, if you ever need anything. I know Polish. I'm like, yay. I mean, I know Polish too, but hey, Mike, you sound like really, really Polish looking at your last name. Tell us about you, Mike.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm Polish. I was born and raised in Poland until I was, I think, 22, 23. Then I came here to the United States, and it's almost 40 years now. So been a long time.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Mike, what do you think about this whole Ukraine war situation and Poland? Does it concern you what is happening? Do you still have friends that you're talking in Poland? What do they say?
Well, I have less and less friends and less connection. Last time I visited Poland, that was 10 years ago. So I don't have that much, connectivity with old country. However, everything concerns me, and I have my own opinion about this conflict, Ukrainian endless conflict, basically, because this started happening many, many years ago. Okay, so this is not only last 10 years or 8 years of the conflict as we know it, right? So this was going on, since Khrushchev, probably, right? So,
It's probably for as long as Soviet Union was there, and everybody was antagonistic against Soviet Union and its ideology. Then the Soviet Union collapsed. I believe at the time when Putin became the president, he actually thought that NATO will either not exist or allows Russia in. But NATO did not allow Russia in. And now we can see that it seems to be the whole thing is about Russia and balkanizing Russia and weakening Russia. And Ukraine is just the means.
Well, we have to look right before Second War, because Germany, Nazis, they create a safe haven for themselves, and they had a big help with Ukrainians, right? With certain groups of Ukrainians, or Banderas and stuff.
Banderas, yes. Stepan Bandera was the volunteer Nazi SS division founder called Galicia in the area of Western Ukraine, which used to be actually a part of Polish territory.
That's correct.
That guy terrorized Polish people when that portion was under Polish control. He was considered a terrorist by Polish government. And then after Molotov-Ribbentrop, I think was it 1939-ish, just before the war started with Soviet Union, the portion of Western Ukraine became under Soviets' control. So then Stepan Bandera started to terrorize Russians. And when the Hitler, despite all the pact agreements he had with Stalin, actually entered Ukraine, then Stepan Bandera welcomed Hitler with bread and butter and said, we're going to create a volunteer SS division and go and kill and slaughter Polish people, Jewish people, Russian people, Romani people, even Ukrainians who do not agree with Nazi ideology of Hitler. So that guy, Stepan Bandera, went and slaughtered several Polish villages. And now in Ukraine, somehow that guy is a national hero. Everything is backwards. And in Poland, he's criminalized. And following Stepan Bandera, that Nazi collaborator with Hitler, is criminalized in Poland, but it is allowed in Ukraine.
Well,
it makes no sense.
Bandera, when I grew up and when I was going to school and learn history, Stepan Bandera was banned in our books and our history. He was forbidden. Basically, he was banned from communists, and we are not allowed to talk about Banderas and his crime against Polish, Jewish, and Romanians, So, but his ideology lived till today, and this is incredible. This is a crazy stuff what's going on over there. That's why Russia was trying to get rid of those things, right? That's why.
And it's insane to me, somebody who actually grew up in Soviet Union, the territory of Ukraine. I speak Ukrainian. I know what Ukraine used to be, but I cannot recognize Ukraine. I don't understand where all these nationalistic policies and these tendencies that Ukraine is only for Ukrainians, and then this superiority, that's all coming from honoring Bandera and his ideology. that you know, this Nazi ideology of one group of people or one ethnic group has this supreme qualities, and everybody else is just subhumans. And I'm thinking to myself, how could Poland not see this through? I mean, Poland suffered under Bandera and his crew in World War II. The Volyn massacre in 1943 in Poland was perpetrated by Stepan Bandera and his followers.
Well,
when they heard, and now Poland supports Ukraine and its ideology. What?
Right, because the previous era suppressed that information, like I said, about Bandera. About 70% of population didn't know about existence of Bandera. Okay, that's the issue. Now, those cards are revealed, and people know more, and they are more. You know, they know what's going on in Ukraine right now. So, well, the Polish people, they're always trying to be very nice to others. Okay, that's why they welcome those Ukrainians. But well, wait another 6 months, 8 months, and things going to change. You know, Polish people going to start seeing through this nonsense. You know.
And that brings me to this little video I want to play. Let us play for everyone. We have a lot of people watching us, Mike. Anybody you want to say hello to across the world? We have a lot of people watching us.
I'm embarrassed a little bit, but you know, that's okay.
Oh no, I'm so glad you were able to join me. That's grand. Here is a little video. Remember the other day we had the live and I showed how Polish people are concerned that there is this push for Poland and Germany to supply Leopard tanks and all these other things. And, you know, of course, Polish people are already involved. We know that at least 1,200 Polish soldiers were killed and are now going to be buried in Poland. I read an article about it on RT. That's tragic. And of course, today I watched a little video from Poland that somebody gave an interview, and he said that in Poland, they're not telling them that there are Polish soldiers fighting in Ukraine. But if you see videos from Russians, both and Ukrainians from the front line, they all say that they hear Polish language there on the front lines. So lots of guys either volunteered or however they got into Ukraine, but we know they're there. And here is a little video we're going to watch for a second of Polish people. And maybe you would translate it to us after we watch it, because it looks like when the video plays and we talk over it, you cannot hear it. So take a listen and tell us what they're saying. Polish people were demonstrating in Warsaw, and their speaker had this to say. Let's check us this way and we'll add it to the stream. Just 1 second now.
Marszu, którego głównym hasłem jest: to nie nasza wojna! To nie nasza wojna! Pokój tak, wojna nie! Bo w naszym interesie, Polaków, w naszym interesie, patrząc na demografię, jest nie wytracanie krwi polskiej, nie wysyłanie policji, żołnierzy, strażaków za granicę do wojny, która może eskalować w wojnę światową.
Well, he said, war no, peace yes, and they don't want to participate. They don't want to send soldiers and firefighters and voluntary people to war. You know, they don't want to die. The war no, and peace yes. You know, that's what they're saying.
We know, guys, anybody who's watching who just joined us, Mike B actually knows very well Polish language. What does they say? Niczemu, just a second, let me go back over here. Want to get your first. Niczemi.
We don't want any war.
How do you say it in Polish?
Nie chcemy żadnych wojen.
Nie chcemy. That's what I had a difficult time. Nie chcemy żadnych wojen. We don't want difficult wars, you said?
Any war, any war. They talk about wars in global,
Excellent.
Not only Ukrainian war, but they don't want any war in Germany. They don't want a war in Iraq. They don't want a war in Russia.
So these are the Polish people protesting potential involvement of Poland. And we here have a little video of I believe this is a German, though I have my German parliament member who spoke against the weapons. Let me see if I have that video here. Maybe it's this one. Let's see, maybe it's not. There's so many videos that I have here. Nope, this is not it. But we can play this one too. This is the video I got off of Telegram. This is Canada. And as soon as we're on the subject of the Nazi ideology in Ukraine, we know that Canadian diaspora has lots of people who immigrated to Canada after World War II. And they are very supportive of current day Ukraine and of its Nazi leanings in ideology of Stepan Bandera. This video is a guy passing by and basically harassing a citizen who he believes is Russian and trying to tell him that Azov battalion is this great thing, and basically threatens to, beat up this man. So this is Canada. Anybody who's watching from Canada, hello guys. I mean, seriously, we're talking that Ukraine is full of people who are subscribing to this Nazi ideology, but then they come here, or they have people here who support this Nazi ideology leanings of Ukraine and their Azov battalion. Let's watch this for a second, guys. He says Azov is power, and he swears, the young gentleman. He forces him to say glory to Azov. It's like, this slogan, glory to Ukraine. Mike, did you know that slogan, glory to Ukraine, hail heroes, that was actually original slogan of Stepan Bandera?
I know, yes, I remember that.
Yeah, and so this guy is pressuring this man to basically say the same thing, to glorify Azov, which is American Congress a couple of years ago actually banned the monies that go to Ukraine to end up in the hands of Ukrainian Azov battalion because of the association of Azov battalion with the Nazi ideology. But now Azov battalion is officially incorporated in military forces of Ukraine. So they get in the money and they come to United States and they get hailed as heroes. So this young man accosting another man who he believes is Russian and forces him to glorify Ukrainian Nazi battalion Azov in Canada. Yep. He says, I'll break your face. Yeah, this is extremism, guys, and this is Canada. Can you believe that? Anybody who is living in Canada, I mean, and the person who was taping this sounded like there was a woman, and she's like, hee, that was funny, right? Mike, this is insane. What do you think?
Well, I think this is a recent immigrant from Ukraine. I don't think he's a Canadian citizen or he's been there long, because he's acting like an animal. So
it's frightening. And we, America and Canada, basically support this ideology, and these people are going to be running around the streets harassing our own citizens pretty soon.
This is happening in Poland right now. This is happening in Poland. They some of them, they are very wild and vicious, on the streets in Poland.
Yeah, and like I said, Stepan Bandera, that Nazi collaborator, Ukrainian nationalist with Hitler, his ideology is banned in Poland. Polish Sejm voted to condemn it. And a few days later, Ukrainian parliament voted to condemn Polish parliament for condemning Bandera. Can't make this stuff up.
It's nonsense. This is nonsense.
It's nonsense. Yep. I was going to show guys is a little video once we on the subject of nationalism. Well, here's a lady. She used to be a Ukrainian parliament member, and she gives a little presentation here by saying that her grandson, when he goes to the kindergarten and he comes back, she hears that he tells her that there is a boy there at school who speaks Russian. And she says, how do I explain to my grandson that there is a boy who speaks Russian and he's in his school when grandmother, which is her, tells him that the Moskal would be Russian derogatory name for the Russian, somebody from Moscow. That she said the grandma tells the grandson that Moskal should not exist. And my grandson goes to school and this Russian boy tells him hello in Russian and not in Ukrainian. And how does my little poor grandson supposed to understand why that Russian is in his school? And then my little poor grandson is going to beat him up with his fist. I mean, like, what? This is a Ukrainian former parliament member. Guys, watch the subtitles of what that lady is saying. So if you don't think there is a problem in Ukraine with this rampant, quote unquote, Nazi ideology, you have to watch some of these videos to understand what's happening. Watch what this lady says, read the subtitles.
Внук, якому 3,5 роки, заходячи в дитячий садок, бачить перед собою якогось Грішу, який до нього каже «Привіт». І мій внук мусить його вчити з допомогою свого маленького кулачка української мови. Тому що дитина приходить знервована до хати і каже: бабусю, в садочку є москаль. А бабуся каже, що москаля треба знищувати. І Дмитрик знищує москаля.
Did you hear that, Mike?
Yes. This is insane.
Isn't that insane? If guys, you don't understand, I'm sure Mike understands Ukrainian. Right, Mike?
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit. She basically saying that her grandson has to destroy the Muscovite, which would be the Russian boy at school, with his fist, because the grandmother, which is her, tells him that Moscows, the Russians, have to be destroyed. And she is a former parliament member of Ukraine. So I don't know what kind of world are we going to create if we allow this. Mike, would you agree this would never be allowed in the United States?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
This would not be allowed. So why are we, with our taxpayer dollars, supporting this?
Elena, I'll be right back. I have to let my dog in. Okay, so.
Go ahead. Don't worry. I am shocked, you guys. What do you think? I personally think that we're insane. Let me see some of your comments here. While Mike is getting his little dog. Yeah, Canada is a mess, says Wendy. Tom Casey says, wow. Yeah, you probably watched both of those videos I just played. Who do we have? Let me see the comments. Ukraine is being used by collective West to attempt to fragment Russia into manageable regions and to rob Russia of its resources. Yep, that's pretty much sums a lot of it up. Let me see who we have. Not this old man I told to find punks. They get to say hello to my little friend. I see. You're talking about the guy who was accosting another man and forced him to glorify Azov, Ukrainian Nazi battalion. Yep. Who do we have? Luba Velimir. That's why Biden and the Democrats are trying to disarm law-abiding gun owners and our Constitution, which is standing in their way. Yeah, pretty much. I'm thinking, can you believe it? Walking in the street of Canada and be accosted by some idiot who wants you to proclaim glory to Ukrainian Nazi battalion. And if you don't do it, he threatens you to beat you up. This is insane. And we American taxpayers and Canadians, we're supporting this. Like, what's happening to us? Here's, you guys, another video I was going to show you. Mike is back. Do we want to see Mike? Everybody put up for vote. I am so excited Mike is back. In case you guys don't know, Mike is one of our community. He knows very well Polish language. He lives in the United States, and he will be our expert on US-Polish relations, right, Mike?
Oh, yeah,
Yay.
absolutely.
Thumbs up. I was going to tell you guys, I mean, I have lots of different videos. While we're on the subject of how different minorities are treated in Ukraine, here is a video of allegedly, because you know how these videos are, we think that's what we see, it's there, but it kind of sounds pretty true. Supposedly, these are Ukrainian armed forces. Obviously, it was a nationalist streak. Because now in Ukraine, there is this huge mobilization and a draft. So they basically grabbing people off the streets. The other day, I showed you the video when they actually hide in a car. The military commissariat guys would hide in a car, and if the man walks by, they grabbed him and gives him a draft notice. So now they are drafting people from the Western Ukraine, and a lot of Hungarian people live in Western Ukraine. Obviously, after World War II, the borders were changed, and lots of people who lived on that border between Poland and Hungary and at the time Soviet Union got sort of moved into Ukraine, and there is Hungarian minority. Unfortunately, just like Russian people, now Hungarian people are being pretty much oppressed in Ukraine. There was the sacred bird called Turul that Hungarian people hold as a symbol of their nation and culture. Recently, Ukrainian authorities removed that monument, that mystic bird that Hungarian people hold very highly. And this video I'm going to play you right now, one of Ukrainian nationalists is threatening Hungarian people that they wouldn't think to possibly declare or want to be autonomous. And he says, we know where you live, we know where your children are, we know where you go to work, so don't you even think. So yeah, I'm sure Viktor Orban, Hungarian president, who criticizes Ukraine for oppressing Hungarian minority in Ukraine, he's not going to be happy to see this video. You can read subtitles, guy, but this guy pretty much is believed to be Ukrainian. And he's basically telling Hungarian minority to walk the straight line or else. You can watch and read subtitles, guys. You are on Ukrainian soil. We know all of you. We know who received the passport. You know, Hungarian government actually offers like the passport to some of those people who live on the border. That they've been doing it for years. Just like Russians were offering Russian passport to the people of Eastern Ukraine who were bombed by Ukraine for all these years. Remember, we will come to you. We know where you work. We will find you. We know where your children are studying. We know where you live. And if you have any dreams about being autonomous, or even if you have any thoughts about being autonomous, you have to stop, and otherwise we will come for you and your children. And here's guy, watch what kind of salute, what kind of sign this guy does. That's pretty much the same thing that Azov battalion does. Watch what he's gonna do now.
Oh,
did you see
God.
that? Did everybody see that?
That's the Nazi. That's
Ukrainian. Yep, that's Ukrainian, and that's what Azov battalion does all the time. And people are saying, "Oh, but there are no Nazis in Ukraine." Like, really? Can you believe it? In year on January 1st, which they did it this year too in Ukraine, they celebrate Stepan Bandera's birthday now. And they have these big torches that they carry with fire. And they go through the streets chanting and drumming and saying, "Death to the enemies. Muscovites have to die." I mean, this is surreal. It's like in America, this would never be allowed. But America now seems to close a blind eye to what it actually considers to be unacceptable. When one group of people decides to proclaim the basically a divine origin and superiority over others. I don't understand how we Americans are so much asleep. Here is another video, guys. Who do we have? We have some comments real quick. David says, a sham war. We have Evatpute, Patriotic Chris, they never went away, retreated and regrouped. Yeah, it looks like the Nazis never went away. They, a lot of the Nazis that were hidden basically and sheltered from the Nuremberg trials by American CIA. There are books about it, and they were brought here. And I think, what is it, Operation Paperclip? There was a famous lady who investigates that. Yeah, so if you guys want to know the history after World War II, very true, Yvette. It seems like the Nazism really didn't get finished back then, and now it's sort of given its rebirth. Sadly, so in Ukraine of all places, it's insane. We have American government loves to support the theosists. Let me see, Ines. He will not escape. Who is not going to escape? Tom. Spetsnaz. I see. Tom is talking about Zelensky. Spetsnaz will get Zelensky as soon as Russian assault commences. What do you think about Zelensky's fate, Mike? Well, do you think that he's gonna continue be the great president, or is the West gonna phase him out? What do you think?
I think soon as the war is gonna be finished, everybody's going to stop about him, and he's gonna disappear. He's gonna be living in Miami, probably in his villa, in South Miami. So that's what's going to happen. Nobody's going to mention about Zelensky anymore as soon as the war is over. When they're going to start, negotiation between NATO and Moscow, Zelensky is going to be out.
A good point. We have Armin Bro. We have to stop support Nazis. There are so many of them in Ukraine. Yeah, very true. And it's heartbreaking to see that we, America, basically support that.
Well, they've been using Nazis right now in Ukraine to achieve, special goal, so that's why, they still feeding those Nazis, those Bandera people to get into some, achievement. That's all. After all, everything's gonna be wiped out. Probably needs to be.
I remember how Hillary Clinton admitted in one of her speeches recently. She said that, but we, America, supported Wahhabists, which were extremists, Islam wing of extremists, and sort of known for their, I believe, terroristic activities. But Hillary Clinton said, we brought them to Afghanistan, we armed them, and we wanted to make sure that they fight Soviets for us. And now they are fighting against us. So we do it all the time. We will find an extremist, radicalized element within a society, looks like, and then we give them money, we arm them, we train them, and then they turn on us eventually.
Yes, that's what it is.
According to Hillary, who is, I'm sure she knows what she's talking about. We have Susanna Rendon says, bravo. Well, Mike, look, we're getting accolades. Thank you, Susanna. Thank you. Again, people who do not know Mike B, Mike is our expert on Poland now. And of course, Mike lives in the United States, but he is originally from Poland. Correct, Mike?
Correct, yeah.
And he speaks Polish, so he gave us some good translations. Here is a quick video. It's a pretty cool one. And I've titled this stream saying coded messages in Ukraine, Ukraine coded messages. Why did I title this? Because remember, guys, this guy, Alexei Arestovich, he is a former advisor to Zelensky. Couple of years ago, he actually gave interview to some YouTube channel, and he said, we know in Ukraine that the price for us to get into NATO is a big war with Russia. And the war is going to start approximately 2021, 22. So he basically predicted and said that Ukraine knows what it has to do. It has to fight Russia, and then it will be allowed to join NATO. He also has a psychology degree, and he's graduated from military academy. But this little video snippet is when he gave an interview a day ago. I talked about what's happening in Ukraine. He recently had to resign because he actually said the truth that Ukrainian rocket, anti-missile defense rocket, fell on the civilian building and killed civilians. And of course, Ukraine didn't like to hear that, so he had to resign. But he's talking here about Ukrainian anthem. And he basically says our Ukrainian anthem is full of references that we all are going to die. And we're just going to fight for freedom, but in the end, we all are going to be dead. So the coded message in Ukrainian national anthem is very bleak. It actually begins with Ukraine did not die yet. I was always surprised when Ukraine became independent, when they selected that anthem. But here's what he had to say. Listen to this. And he's a psychologist, so he knows what he's talking about.
Там есть очень любопытные строчки. При всей любви к нашему гимну звучит оно так. Души и тело мы положим за нашу свободу.
He says, with a big love for our country and our anthem, we do need to know that there are lines in our anthem that says, the body and soul we will lay down for our freedom.
Скажите, в нашем гимне есть хоть какой-нибудь конструктив? Какая-нибудь...
He says, is there anything constructive that's in our anthem? Is there
инженерия, что будет в мире после победы?
What's going to happen after our victory? Any constructive engineering is placed in our anthem.
Там же есть только мы положим душу и тело, и что дальше?
There is only that we're going to lay down our body and soul, but then what? What's after that?
Так вот это сочетание «положим душу и тело», то есть будем воевать, пока все не умрем, и сочетание «черной рады» будем убивать друг друга, лишь бы кто-то не поднял, как это.
He said, and this correlation about us in the end being all dead, basically. That's in the anthem.
Это не счел себя новым гетьманом, да, и там не показалось, что он лучше других. Оно убийственно для нас. Это наша национальная смерть, сочетание.
It's deadly for us, and we're going to select this hetman. Hetman is, I think, do Polish people have hetman? It's like the leader, like a chief.
Used to be,
right?
yeah.
Like hetman, yeah. So in Ukrainian anthem there are these various references to all of us are going to die. We're going to lay down our body and soul, and we're going to be all dead. And he's like Arestovich, Alexei Arestovich, former Zelensky advisor. He's like, what is encoded in our national anthem, this map, where are we going? What is going to happen after our victory if our own national anthem basically says that we are all going to die? And our chief and everything basically doesn't have a good happy end, and it's coded in our anthem. And he says it is deadly for us. It is our national death. And I looked up the words of Ukrainian anthem, and you guys can do that too. Now, since we have Mike, we're probably not going to read it together, but you guys can Google Ukrainian anthem. And Alexei Arestovich is very concerned that the message in Ukrainian anthem basically predicts or ends with the death of Ukrainian people, and there is no future after that. And he's very concerned because obviously he is on Ukrainian side, but he's definitely not as enthused anymore about Ukrainian victory. And the other day he actually came out and said that Polish President Duda also said something about what if Ukraine's not going to survive this. So now lots of people in Poland and in Ukraine are starting to doubt whether there will be Ukraine's victory, including this guy, Alexei Arestovich, you see on your screen.
Это катастрофа национальная.
He basically says it's the national catastrophe that our national Ukrainian anthem basically does not spell out bright future, you know, great victory, how we all live happily ever after. But the national anthem just basically spells out a disaster, that we all die for our freedom, and that's it.
Yeah.
What do you think, Mike? How is Polish anthem compares to that?
Well, the Polish anthem is completely different, okay? The country is not dying, never gonna die, because we are strong. We are, you know, we are going forward. You know, we are learning and you know, creating. That's what it's a Polish anthem about. You know, it's really
excellent.
Right.
Excellent.
Yeah,
well, Gary says, writes a comment here, says, sounds like a death cult. Yeah, like I said, many of you probably know that I used to live in Ukraine, and when it became independent, we got this new anthem, and we got new money, and we got all these new different things, and I thought this anthem was very depressing. But I'm surprised that Alexei Arestovich only now noticed that there is nothing positive about that national anthem. It basically predicts a very grim future for Ukraine. Interestingly enough, they just started noticing that about the national anthem. We have a comment. Poland wants to do a land grab in Western Ukraine. Do you want to comment, Mike? Poland wants to do a land grab in Western Ukraine.
This is, yeah, the Gary is kind of right, because the Poland and Ukraine was kind of one country before Second War, right? So, but the Europe was completely different, has a completely different look. Who knows what's going to happen in the future, because Poland took over German land, okay? Who knows if German will not push Poland toward Eastern Europe, toward Ukraine, and take over. Germans will take over their land, you know, so southern Poland and western Poland. Who knows, you know, and people talking about this.
Yep, we have another comment from YouTube. Karl Lazar 123 says, it seems Poland accepting Bandara when they're fighting on Ukrainian side. Yeah, that's very surprising to me.
No,
what do you think, Mike?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. The Polish people hates Bandera. You know, Bandera kills about 100,000 Poles back in 1943 within 2 months. Within 2 months.
But why would Polish people go volunteer fight in Ukrainian army, which we know they do because they come back dead? There was 1,200 Poles that just returned dead recently from Ukraine.
After Second War, there was probably about 1.5 or 2 million Ukrainians, Polish Ukrainians, they moved to Poland. So probably there was a lots of people moving from Ukraine, southern Ukraine, to Poland, and they have a family. They live there for generations now, right? So they're Poles, they're Polish, but they still feel they're Ukrainian as well. So lots of those people, they're trying to fight Russians.
Great thought, Mike. So you think that maybe these are some people who basically assimilated in Poland, but they still sort of have Ukrainian roots or whatnot.
Well, I remember, you know, Ukrainians in Poland back in 1960s and 70s, their houses were painted in blue color. Okay, there was villages that the whole villages painted in blue, and I never knew, I never realized that. Okay, so that was weird. Nobody was painted house in blue, and fences and all surroundings, but that was a hidden sign to other Ukrainians who are looking for shelter and seeking shelter or help, that Ukrainians lives here and they welcome Ukrainians, you know.
I see.
So that's right. I got this news a while ago, and I was really surprised, and put some last puzzle to my thoughts, you know.
Yeah, here is a little video. Guys, take a look. These are the Ukrainian Church, Orthodox Church people that were put out by Ukrainian special forces, and basically there is a big war on church that Zelensky started in Ukraine. The Russian Orthodox Church was always the only Russian Orthodoxy sort of on the territory of what now is Ukraine, because it used to be part of Russian Empire. But in 2018, a previous Ukrainian president before Zelensky had actually mingled in the church's affair and created its own Ukrainian Orthodox Church. You can pick this up. Yes, president got involved in church business and created a Ukrainian church. But now Ukrainian church still continued to operate under Moscow sort of patriarchy. And of course, now it's forbidden to do that. Wow. And those priests, go ahead, Mike.
No.
And those priests who still operate and believe that their allegiance would be to religiously, we don't talk politically, but religiously, they would fall under the Russian patriarchy. While recently Zelensky ordered the special troops to come and raid these churches, they nationalized their property. They throw them basically out in the street. And here is the priest from one of these churches. You could see they are trying to peacefully protest and seen outside their own church, where now armed men are in their church in Ukraine. So it's a tragedy that Zelensky is doing this. Can you believe it, guys? So basically they were dispossessed of their church, and you could see that they're staying outside the fence, and inside the fence there is other people and there is armed men in there. I don't know. I mean, how could this be a modern day quote unquote democracy, right, Mike?
Yes, absolutely.
If we have no religious freedom and the armed man can come raid the church, throw the priest outside and take over his church and his property, and that's modern day Ukraine. And we, again, Americans, being volunteered by Joe Biden and our government to support this with our tax dollars. Does anybody have any comments on that? We have Tom Casey, Nazis don't believe in God.
Yeah, that's right.
That's probably a good assessment. Mm-hmm. We have what an atrocity, says Jerry Green. Yeah, I really don't understand. I drive around Michigan where I live. There is lots of churches, Mike. Would you agree in America?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
In fact, that was one of the first things that I was very surprised about the United States when I came here first. That how many churches are on every corner. There is a church. I said, wow, people really believe in God here.
Well, you know, but lots of churches were closed after those 2-3 years, you know, crazy.
COVID, you mean, yeah, the crazy disease we shall not mention, right?
Churches. That was a purpose.
Yeah.
That was a, you know, purpose to close the churches. And in Connecticut, lots of churches are closed.
Yeah, how is life in Connecticut where you're at? Tell us about Connecticut.
Well, it's the best thing is there is no snow.
Oh, that's my favorite place.
Well, it's good. Connecticut is a kind of a good place to be, but very expensive. You know, this is the most expensive state in the whole United States, I believe.
Oh my gosh, how did you end up? You must be independently wealthy if you ended up in the wealthiest state of all of us.
I'm not complaining.
That's good. Here's, you guys, another video. And this is actually pretty interesting. Look at this guy. He's Ukrainian volunteer. Right here, him doing some packing for volunteer, different goods that he gathers for Ukrainian troops that are in the front line, for civilians who are in need. So he does a lot of volunteer work. His name is Alexei Oskar. You can find him, I think he's on Telegram, on TikTok, just about everywhere. He recorded a video recently.
Але правда, коли президент...
And he's made a video address to President Zelensky. It's a bit long, but I will give you a gist of it, and I'll play a little bit of it for you. He basically recently have been arrested and placed under the house arrest because he spoke out about the corruption at the front lines, at the military officers, at the bribes, at the fact that humanitarian aid gets sold at the stores and never makes it to people in need in Ukraine. So he is a volunteer. He basically spends all his time. He says he is disabled in some way, so he cannot go serve in the army. He's, I believe he grew up in the child's home, like an orphanage, and has a number of diseases that he's battling. But he said that with his volunteer work, instead of being appreciated, he gets arrested by Ukrainian armed forces, and the judge puts him for the 30 days under the home arrest. And he basically asks Zelensky, he says, how is it possible that we, people who did not run away from Ukraine, people who stayed, people who are helping the guys on the front line and civilians, we're getting arrested? He just asks Zelensky to, and he actually tells Zelensky that what we call, dear respected Mr. Zelensky, and he says, I say it through my teeth, meaning he really, he doesn't really have a lot of respect for Zelensky, but he asks Zelensky to change his policy of basically harassing Ukrainians who are helping the soldiers at the front line and volunteer their time and their effort, their money to help the people. He says military commissariat basically takes bribes from the guys at the front line, doesn't give them the papers. If you want to go home for a couple of days, you have to pay a bribe. Then if they die in combat, that they were supposed to receive a lot of money. The family of Ukrainian soldier killed in combat has to receive money. But he claims that commissariat and the commanders at the field write off those soldiers as missing in action instead, so they wouldn't have to pay the family of the soldier. Then he says, if they, you know, like sometimes they will fine the soldier for whatever and basically take the soldier's salary. In other words, he voices, and the guys from the front line call him, he records those conversations. It's not like something that he came up with. But he basically tells Zelensky, for how long are we Ukrainian people going to suffer from you, Zelensky, and this corrupt politician continue oppressing us. That's listening for a minute here what he's saying. If you guys understand Ukrainian, listen in.
7 молодих дівчат і хлопців, ну молодих, я себе теж вважаю ще 38-річним молодим хлопцем, зібралося. Вельми шановний пане президенте України. Також я хочу звернутися до українців. Мене звати Олексій Оскар, я звичайний волонтер, звичайний громадянин України, звичайний патріот України своєї, звичайний журналіст і звичайний голова громадської організації. Я думаю, не для кого не секрет, що з першого дня війни, а точніше через 4 години після нападу Росії на Україну, нас 7 молодих дівчат і хлопців, ну молодих, я себе теж вважаю ще 38-річним молодим хлопцем, зібралося в одному будинку, де ми проживали, і ми прийняли рішення не тікати, не ховатися, так як я, допустим, інвалід, я не можу брати участь у військових подіях, бути корисним сьогодні для держави і зробити показовим відео, що ми, молодь, залишились в Україні для того, щоб протистояти російській агресії в тилу наших захисників, які на передовій.
He basically says, dear President Zelensky, when the war started with Russian army coming in, we did not run away. Me and my friends, we got together and we decided how are we going to help our Ukrainian troops from like back home for what we can do. He says, I am a disabled person. I have my, you know, different restrictions of what I can do, but we decided to help our army from at home.
Всі ви, мабуть, спостерігали за тим, як ми купували їжу, як ми годували всі блокпости по місту Києва, як ми роздавали піци сотнями штук.
He says, you probably saw me and my friends were giving out pizzas, we're giving out at block posts water, juices.
Потім ми перейшли вже на більш серйозну допомогу. Це і броніки були, це і тепловізори були, це і автомобілі.
We even tried to buy different body armor and the what is it, infrared things when they see in the dark, the heat, the things that army uses to see things in the dark.
Night goggles.
Night goggles, exactly. Thank you, Mike. That's what he was with his other volunteers helping to send to the guys at the front lines.
Мобілі були, це були фури гуманітарної допомоги з Англії, Іспанії.
He even got together with some people who live in England and in Spain, and they brought whole truckloads of humanitarian aids from those countries to Ukraine, and he was involved in doing that.
Я до сих пір роздаю з Італії, з Франції, з Германії, з багатьох країн, з Мальти.
Italy, from Malta, from Spain, I think he said, from Germany.
Зокрема, який зняв фільм про нас, волонтерів, про мене і про мою волонтерську сім'ю. Але я
He even had a movie made about him from another country. The filmmakers came and basically made a movie about his volunteer work in Ukraine.
Про інше. Коли в березні місяці я почав дуже гучно заявляти про корупцію в лавах Збройних сил України, зокрема серед комбатів, офіцерського составу,
He says, when about a few months ago, I started to speak openly about corruption within the army of Ukraine, amongst the officers and amongst people who are in the high positions of the military of Ukraine.
Те, що я володів особисто інформацією, тримаючи зв'язок з військовими, які на мене виходили.
Because I had the access to the privileged exclusive information from the soldiers who were contacting me and provided me all that first-hand information, like whistleblowers, he says.
А у нас були гарячі лінії, ми відповідали.
We had hotlines and people would call us and they tell us what's happening.
Дали на месенджери, ми сиділи весь час на зв'язку з людьми, і ми слухали ті розмови, ми отримували факти, докази, матеріали.
We were accepting materials, proofs, variety of messages, and we sifted through them and we collected the evidence.
Відео підтвердження того, що комбати, деякі непорядні на руку комбати, я не говорю про всіх, загралися у війну, побудували цілу бізнес-імперію.
He said, I don't say everybody, but the guys from the front lines and the soldiers provided the documents and videos of how some of the officers from the front lines and military built an entire corrupt empire out of the military aid that they're getting.
Корупційно на війні забирають у хлопців заробітні плати, не виплачують.
they're taking guys' salaries, the soldiers' salaries.
Плачують, придумують їм всілякі штрафи, щоб не платити, відправляють рідним документи про безвісти зниклих їхніх рідних, які
They're making up variety of penalties and fees to fine the soldiers so they don't have to pay them. Then they send their families the paper saying that the guy is missing in action instead of the guy is proven to be killed and dead, so they wouldn't have to pay to the family of the dead soldiers, so they write him off as missing.
які насправді загинули за Україну, але якщо подати документи, що він загинув, то комбат має віддати гроші, тому що комбат розпоряджається коштами військового, комбат розпоряджається посилкою військового, яку він краде, комбат розпоряджається життям військового, яке він знищує, тому що кидаючи на передову як м'ясо пушечне наших військових без військового мундирування, без
He's saying that the commanders are basically throwing the guys on the front lines to die like cannon fodder with no proper equipment. The commander is in charge of the soldiers' salary. The commander can fine the soldiers to take their salary. So he doesn't say all of the commanders, but there were instances where he does have the proof of this happening. So he was speaking out about it.
Здаючи позиції, продаючи за гроші російським офіцерам, щоб хлопців наших убивали, щоб знищити.
He even says that some of the commanders are selling the positions to the Russian side for money.
Їх як свідків своїх корупційних дій, розкрадання, наркоти, алкоголізму.
And he says that they're actually killing the Ukrainian soldiers. I've seen some of his videos where some of these soldiers claim that the commanders actually killed the Ukrainian soldiers for being witnesses to the corruption that the commanders perpetrated. Soldiers called them out on it, and the commanders killed the soldiers. He had videos about it with the soldiers' interviews. Again, he doesn't say all commanders in Ukrainian army do that, but he basically comes out and says that he has proof, he has witnesses, that certain commanders basically built a corrupt empire within the army.
Комбатів, те, що мені розповідали особисто військові. І коли я це говорив президенту, коли я звертався до вельми шановного нашого пана президента з проханням долучити мене в якості свідка, інформатора, людини, яка хоче бути корисною сьогодні в Україні, і щоб ця інформація не гуляла по російським десь паблікам, а щоб нею займалися спеціальні структури державної влади, правоохоронні органи, Служба безпеки України, ВСП, Генеральна прокуратура. Але, правда, коли президент звільнив голову СБУ за співпрацю з Росією, генерального прокурора за співпрацю з Росією, то вже тут в мене, звісно, сумніння було, куди ж тоді ще мені звертатися. Але я все одно не втрачав надії, писав звернення, заяви, збирав рапорти від хлопців, тому що комбати їх рвали, ці рапорти. Що ми маємо на сьогоднішній день? Коли про це говорив я, про корупцію в лавах Міністерства оборони, тому що мною особисто була озвучена інформація про те, що на прикордонній службі у Львові затримали автомобіль з військовою амуніцією на 10 тисяч доларів. Але по накладній за підписом Міністерства оборони там мало бути 300 тисяч доларів. Тобто так, для міжнародних очей Міністерство оборони відмивало 300 тисяч доларів, заганяє через кордон фуру на 10 тисяч доларів, вибачте.
So he talks a lot about various corruption instances which he documented. And he basically says that he wrote letters to Zelensky. He wrote letters to Interior Ministry saying that, please take him as a witness. I have documents. I have people's testimonies. Use me and let's look into who is corrupt in Ukraine, who is stealing all this military equipment. When they bring a big trucks through the border and it says it's supposed to have 300,000 of whatever on it, the aid, and there's only 10,000 worth. So they're writing things off. And this guy, the Alexei Oskar, whose video I just showed you, he has a lot of videos on his Telegram account, his TikTok account. You can check him out. He basically is speaking out about corruption in Ukraine. But Zelensky does not really react to his letters, does not give him time of day. And on top of it, this guy, volunteer Alexei, has been arrested and placed under the house arrest to basically shut him down for 30 days. So if we think that Zelensky only fights Russians and those people who he considers his enemies, it seems like he's fighting his own Ukrainian people who are actually patriots of Ukraine, like this guy, Alexei, who cares about Ukraine, who wants to have the truth and transparency. And the guys at the front lines have the equipment that they need instead of dying with no proper weapons. But looks like the volunteer gets sacked. What do you think about this, Mike?
Well, you know, Ukraine was corrupted before Second War. That's what Hitler and Nazis were doing with them. And over the years, through Soviet Russia, you know, that corruption even, you know, was bigger. So this is not the new thing in Ukraine. Same thing was in Poland before, you know, when Poland was under Russian influence, under Soviet influence. But right now, everything, you know, it's kind of civilized and way better. So hopefully, after everything is over in Ukraine, you know, everything's gonna be changed for better. Hopefully. But
when I saw this guy, again, guys, this guy right here, Alexei Oskar, when I saw him and I watched some of his live streams, which he does, you have to think that it must be very frustrating. Here is a volunteer, the guy who tries to help the soldiers on the front line, tries to deliver humanitarian aid, but now he's under house arrest. He cannot go and deliver all these packages that he's packing over here. And he sends them by mail. He receives a lot of requests. He has a list of what the soldiers want, what civilians need. And he does this work that he says patriotic work for Ukraine. But Ukraine is paying him back by arresting him, putting him in front of the judge, silencing him. He was arrested by armed men in Kiev, he said, while trying to meet with the mothers and the wives of missing soldiers who he was trying to help to find their husbands. So you have to feel for those people who are trying to find justice in Ukraine, writing to Zelensky, writing to their officials, and not finding any justice in Ukraine. Yep, it's, I don't know, does it remind us something? How can you change generations of corruption and immorality? Somebody is writing the comment. Here's another comment. We helped fund an armed Taliban to fight Russia in the 80s. And then when Russians pulled out, the United States stopped funding the Taliban and refused to help rebuild their homeland. That's the real reason why they attacked us, first with the USS Cole, and then first attempt on Twin Towers in 93, and then they planned and executed attacks on 9/11. Who funded them? Not just the Saudis, but the globalists who Bush Jr. is a member. So we had that comment, opinion.
Yeah, that's true.
We have government is corrupt by default. Yeah, pretty good thought, Tom Casey. Yeah. It sounds like it does. The corruption knows no bounds, right? No nationality. It's kind of like international. Luba says, I am not optimist when it comes to nuclear apocalypse. What is it? Apocalypse. Not one bit. God help us out. What do you think, Mike, about the nuclear apocalypse? Are we on the brink of nuclear war with Russia or somebody?
Oh, hopefully not. Hopefully everybody, both sides, going to wake up, you know, at some point, because that's going to be over. This is going to be over. Well, I saw some short video today somewhere on YouTube or Facebook. Pretty much we have no chance to survive, you know, when they're going to start, you know, sending those missiles. Everything's going to be over.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking every day that I'm hoping for some better news, you know, but the news so far have not been all that encouraging, to be honest. So I don't know. I hope Polish people will wake up and do not allow themselves to be dragged into it. What do you think, Mike? Do you think Polish Duda, President Duda, and
No.
what is it, Morawiecki?
No, he's not going to do anything. He's a chicken. He's not going to do anything. I saw some video from Poland that, you know, lots of tanks from Germany or England were passing by Poland, about 50, 60 tanks. So
Wow.
this is not optimistic at all, you know. So I'm sure, I know Putin is not going to give up, and he has no choice. Basically, he has no choice if he wants to defend his country. He really has no choice.
Yeah, that's very true. I personally am very concerned about the possibility of nuclear exchange with Russia. Russian former president came out the other day, Mr. Medvedev, and he said that the desire of the West to pressure Germany, and Germany now allows Poland to supply Leopard tanks over to Ukraine, providing this heavy weaponry might basically signal escalation. And then Russia might recognize Germany and Poland as the parties to the conflict or whatnot. And then what? I mean, do Polish people understand that they may be dragged into it? I mean, I'm sure lots of good-hearted Polish people don't want to be dragged in it, like the one protest we have seen. But it's very dangerous. And that former Russian president, he said, the politicians in the West do not understand that no nation with nuclear weapons has lost a major conflict yet, or major war. It's sort of like this ding, ding, ding. You know, do you guys want to push us to the brink? If you push us, we're taking you with us.
Yes.
Does it remind you, Mike, like, what is it, Khrushchev and Kennedy type situation in the 60s, I think?
Yeah, exactly. This is the same situation, but there was a more panic in the United States.
Exactly. Why do you think people are asleep? Like, we literally, Scott Ritter, the former UN inspector who I did an interview the other day on my YouTube channel, he said, Elena, we may not have this conversation next year. And on his previous interviews I watched, he said, people, Americans, you don't understand. We may not wake up tomorrow. It's that dangerous. And yet Americans seem to kind of think that, oh, it's all same old pinky cheeky roses. What do you think, Mike? Why Americans don't understand that?
There was last 40, 50 years, there was at least 10, 12 war all over. You know, there was Vietnam, there was Korea, there was Afghanistan, there was Syria, Libya, and nothing was happening here in our soil in the United States. So people still thinking that, nothing going to happen this time as well. But this is a different war. This is a different conflict, and this could be escalated to a bigger issue. You know that we.
Anybody who is on this stream right now, are you concerned with nuclear war, right, Mike? Let's see how many people are concerned. Put some pluses or say I'm concerned of nuclear war, because it seems like it's me and maybe Mike, right? Mike, it's just two of us.
Yeah,
that we're concerned. I love America. I hope our country does not do anything silly that we cannot be undone.
Right.
Okay, we have Yemen, Mike. Somebody mentions Yemen. Are you people nuclear war? So many children are destroyed. Yeah, that's very true. Oh, we have Wendy is concerned. Yes, Wendy Walker, thank you. You are concerned. So, Mike, now there is three of us.
Oh, I'm sure everybody they're concerned about this, but people they're so stressed out. Last 3 years.
Go ahead.
People are so stressed out, and they don't want to talk about this. They don't want to be depressed even more with this war. You know, so That's why nobody is talking about this. That's why this is a kind of very sensitive subject, you know.
Mike, we got at least 10 people. I posted their comments on the screen right now, very concerned. Then we have, yes, from which countries are you guys typing? Which countries are concerned? All Slavic people are concerned. Yeah, we have a lot of concerned people. Well, that's good to know. At least we're not alone. Here's a comment from Debbie. Yes, concerned with nuclear wars. Our country's leaders are crooked. As the citizens are pathetic. Some of us are informed and try to educate the others. Thank you, Debbie, Maggie. Thank you very much. That's what we're trying to do, right, Mike? We're trying to educate the others. And again, if you joined our broadcast later, Mike is originally from Poland and he lives in Connecticut. So he's our expert on Poland. I love it. And he even helps us with what we need to translate from complicated Polish media sometimes. Because obviously I can find my way around Polish, but now we have an expert. That's much, much better, right? I love it. Let's see, Michelle saying, I am concerned, Michelle Fisher, I am concerned from Australia. Thank you, Michelle. We got it. Now we have, I suggest everyone familiarize themselves with Apparition of Fatima. Tom Casey has us thinking about those things. Well, Tara, concerned from Australia with what's happening in Ukraine and what may happen with China. What are your thoughts on China, Mike?
Well, China definitely will support Russia. You know, if something happened, China will go different direction, and China will take care of Asia and go toward Australia, New Zealand. So hopefully this is not going to happen, you know, but this is a worst scenario that's possibly will expand toward Africa and Australia from China and Japan as well.
Japan worries me. I even asked Scott Ritter about Japan because remember they recently signed that agreement with Britain to exchange their troops on the ground, and Japan used to have this pacifistic constitution after World War II that they would be sort of like basically defensive, you know, and not offensive military, so to speak. But now it seems like, I don't know, are they preparing for something that we don't know? They're definitely becoming more aggressive with their foreign policy, I would say. I don't know if we should be worried about... We have Davy, to take down the Nazis and US bioweapon labs. I'm Polish-Hungarian also, although American-born. Connecticut is a Polish area. Did you hear that, Mike? We have
yes,
Davy.
it is. Yes, there's lots of Polish markets, lots of Polish, areas, beautiful areas, beautiful Polish churches as well. And still Polish restaurants and good Polish traditional food, so you're welcome here.
I love Polish culture. I've been to Poland. I've been to Warsaw. Amazing people. I've been to Przemysl as well. Yeah, love it. And of course, in Chicago, where I live nearby Chicago, there's wonderful Polish areas where they have Polish stores. It was this famous store, I believe it was called Bobak. I mean, you could go there and you're like an old country. You have sauerkraut, you have pickles, you have sausages, all handmade. Yeah. I'm like, wow, this is like a little Europe there. And a great restaurant with all type of national cuisine. You can taste the taste of Poland right there. Michelle is saying, I was born in Lviv, but I am Russian. I'm planning to go back home to Russia, says Michelle Fisher here. Yeah, so we have people watching us from a lot of different countries. Here says Davy, kielbasa. Yay, kielbasa. Yes, we know that. That's famous.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Summertime, definitely.
Definitely great time. Yeah, Polish people are lovely, and we have lots of people where I live nearby. I have lots of Polish friends. They're wonderful people. Of course, we love everyone, right? Oh, we have hello from Canada there, Angela Black Swan. Hello from Canada. We're talking about how lovely Polish people are because our guest speaker today, Mike, is originally from Poland, who lives in Connecticut. And we welcome Mike. Well, guys, I think we had enough of the little chat late at night, and I want to thank Mike for graciously joining me on this live stream today with all of you, because it's getting late. So we probably should not overtake my generosity for being with us. And maybe do it some other time. And the next time, I think we touched on a lot of different things. What do you think, Mike?
Absolutely. I'm with you guys.
Did you want to say something before we go? Did you want to send a message to American people? What do you think about this entire Russia war and our U.S. involvement?
Well, I have a feeling that everything's going to be end pretty soon. Nuclear weapons not going to be used, and people always going to choose easier solution, not a war. We are not the war nation. War is so outdated. So well, hopefully this is a fake war. This is a really fake war. NATO and Biden, they trying to push China and Russia using Ukraine. That's all. And lots of poor Ukrainian are dying, and who knows what's going to happen with that nation? Who going to replace them? Somebody's needs to replace those people.
That's very true. Lots of people now, even within Ukraine, are getting a little not so sure, put it this way, whether there will be Ukraine at the end of this, if this keeps going. And we American people are told, Mike, that we're saving Ukraine. I cannot even fathom. It's like people in the United States, one state fighting another state, right? Because we lived in Europe, everybody was usually, we're talking about the last 100 years, plus minus some insane wars in the past. But if we're talking modern day, people are usually friendly. People don't want to start sending their children to die for some corrupt politicians. I don't see any benefit to regular Ukrainians go dying for Joe Biden. And that's pretty much what's happening. America uses Ukraine as this mallet against Russia. And it's tragic because Russians and Ukrainians used to live in one same country. They have families. And now there's families fighting. One guy's fighting for Ukrainian army, another guy's fighting for Russian army. And they're part of one big extended family. Yeah. That's tragic to me. Cousins. It's like cousins, brothers, mother-in-law lives in Russia. The grandkids live in Ukraine. And then they're killing each other. And it's like people would do that within United States, that we live friendly with each other. All of a sudden, God forbid, that the states would fight and we intermarried. We have relatives in both states. It's very tragic to me. And the sooner politicians will start some type of peace talk with Russia, the better. And the more Ukrainian lives will be saved, the more weapons are just killing more Ukrainians. That's tragedy. Did you see how many losses they have on the front lines?
Yes.
And how
yes.
Hundreds of thousands. Hundreds.
Yes.
It's tragic for us all. So let's, guys, thank Mike for being with us today. We'll do it some other time. We see Tara says bye. Thank you, Mike and Elena. You see, Mike, you're famous now.
Wow. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you for
perfect.
having me.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for being here. Yes, we have Davey saying proxy war, and that's pretty much that is.
Yeah.
We say great chat. Thanks, Elena and Mike. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, guys. Thank you. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
And we'll talk to you again.
Yeah. Thank you, Elena.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you.